Okay, and we are at 1-6, greatest common factor. And this is the last set of notes for Unit 1 already. Can you believe it? Only on your second full week of school. So, we talked about least common multiple, which was the smallest number that all of your numbers can go into. Greatest common factor, let's think about what that means. So, greatest means biggest, largest number. Common means that they all have it. All have in common. Okay? So it's the biggest factor. Remember that a factor is just a number. It's the biggest number they all have in common. So it has to equally divide into the numbers that you are looking at. Okay? So again, we can list them all out, or we can use prime factorization. I'm going to show you both ways. So, what is the greatest common factor of 36 and 24? So let's think about what we can multiply together to get 36. So, easiest one is 36 times 1, right? Now here's a little interesting way you can think of all your factors. So if you double one of them and cut the other one in half, you will end up with the same product. So let's see what I mean by that. So if I double 1, I get a 2. And then half of 36 is 18. So 18 times 2 is another way to get 36. You know, I'm thinking actually as I'm sitting here, I think I'm going to rewrite this so that I've got the smaller numbers in front. Sorry about that. Let's just fix that. There we go. I like that a little bit better. All right, so 1 times 36. I'm going to double the 1 and cut the 18 in half. So do that again. What is double of 2? Well, that would be 4. I'm going to leave a space there for a minute. And then half of 18 is 9. Well, if you check your multiplication grid that you've got, 4 times 9 is also 36. We're just trying to find all the 36s. What about 3? Pretty sure that 36 is a factor of 3, because if you use your divisibility rules, 3 plus 6 is 9, and 3 goes into 9, so 3 must go into 36. So 3 goes into 3 one time, and 3 goes into 6 twice, so 3 times 12. Okay, 5 doesn't go into 36 because it doesn't end in a 5 or a 0. What about 6? 6 works, and 6 times 6 is 36. That's actually something we call a perfect square, but we will talk about that much later. Okay? And I think those are all the factors of 36. I can't think of anything that's bigger that we haven't already covered. So 6, 7, and 8 don't go in there. 9 goes in, but we already took care of it over here. And then we'd start getting to these bigger numbers. So there's all of our factors of 36. Let's do the same thing for, let's write this over here. This is for 36. Okay? So for 24, let's do the same thing and see what factors we have going on. So let's start with the easy one. 1 times 24. If we double the 1, we get a 2. And if we cut 24 in half, we get a 12. What about 3? Well, 3 times 8 is 24. 4 times 6 is 24. Can't do a 5. We can do a 6, but we already took care of it right here. So I think these are all the factors of 24. So now if you look at those two lists, what is the largest number they both have in common? When I'm looking at that, the largest number they have in common is a 12. Okay. So let me show you the prime factoring way to do this. Let's just see. And you can pick whichever method you like. You do not have to do it one way or the other. As long as you can do it and do it well, I'm totally fine with that. So if we factor 36, you get a 6 and a 6. 6 times 6 is 36. Then each of those 6's can be broken down into 2 and 3 and 2 and 3. and then you need to circle those. Once you get down to prime factors, you always want to circle them, okay? For 24, you can do that a lot of different ways. I am going to go 6 times 4, okay? And then that 6 can get broken down into a 3 and a 2, and a 3 and a 2. So, what you have to do when you are finding your greatest common factor, oh, let's fix that. That's not a 3 and a 2. Or some of you yelling at the computer screen, Miss V, you messed up. Please tell me when I mess up. I need you to do that. Okay? So, you're actually going, now you've got 3 2's, right? So, what you want to do is write down the factors that you have. So the two numbers you're dealing with in this case are a 2 and a 3. Over here, you've got 2 2's, right? And I'm going to write it like that. And you have 2 3's. Over here, you have 3 2's and 1 3. So with greatest common factor, the way you find your your greatest common factor is you write down all of your factors. So we have a 2 and a 3. You're going to write that down here. And then you write down the smallest amount that you have for each. So if you look at our 2's, the smallest number of them we have are over here. We have 2 of them. And for our 3's, the smallest number of them that you have is 1. So you have a 1. So this means we have 2 times 2 times 3. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 would be 12. So again, your greatest common factor is 12. The better you get at your multiplication facts, the easier this is going to get for you. Okay? I promise you. All right. What is the greatest common factor of 25 and 5? So let's try that one. So 25, let's just break that down. 25 only has as options 1 times 25 and 5 times 5. 55 has 1 times 55 and 5 times 11. So the biggest number that those two have in common is 5. So the biggest number you can put into 25 and 55 is 5. Okay? I'm going to let you try the last example on your own, 105, 35, and 70, and then come back and check and see how you did. Okay? So, here we go. For 105, you can do 105 times 1. Put that in the right order. Let's be consistent. Times 105. Because this ends in a 5, I know I can divide it by 5. So, I'm going to pull the 5 out of there. And then 5 can't go into 1. 5 can go into 10 twice with nothing left over. And 5 can go into 5 one time. Okay? Now remember that thing I told you before about you can double something and then take half of something? It actually works with other numbers too. So let's think about numbers that go into 21. So 21 is 7 times 3. So let's divide 21 by 3. We would get 7. And then, if we divide that by 3, we get 7. And if we multiply that 5 by 3, we would get 15. So 15 times 7 is also 105. What about the other way? If we did 21 divided by 7, we get 3. And then if we did 5 times 7, we would get 35. So 35 times 3 is also 105. And I think those are all the factors. So for 35, that's a little bit easier. We have 1 times 35 and 5 times 7. For 70, let's move this over. You have 1 times 70. It ends in a 0, so it can be divided by 2. So do 2 times 35. It ends in a 0, so I know it can be multiplied, or excuse me, divided by 5. And 5 goes into 7 one time. It has 2 left over, right? And then 5 goes into 20 4 times. 70 also ends in a 0, so I know it can be multiplied by 10 7 times. Now we just need to look at our 3 sets of numbers and see which one we have in common. And it looks like the biggest number that they all have in common, to me, let's see, we've got a 7 and a 7. That looks like that's going to be the biggest one. So the greatest common factor of 105, 35, and 70 is 7. That's it. Great job on Unit 1.